a set of very unusual events occurring at Freetown, so called, at the base and surrounding the tower. Uh, from different people's points of view, it's unusual. From the point of view of the delegation or the event of descent, individuals who are descending to go past the cloud cover layer while remaining in and on the tower is a major event for them. And then to actually emerge in these, it is marked C on the map. There are several little C's, and those are the places where the base of Freetown actually enters into the tower. But those particular doors and gates are pretty much by definition never opened. The means by which productivity of Freetown, the labor of Freetown, operates um, in the tower does not involve free passage back and forth. So maybe there is some kind of passage back and forth, but it would have to be extremely formal and maybe to some extent automated, is my thinking, rather than actually people going back and forth. So there are some non-winged people living in the base of the tower. There are some winged people who live in Freetown, most notably the security services who get posted there as if it were a foreign country. And they maintain several different places of residence, including their families and things and administrations, but they're fairly limited and um, they aren't very effective. They don't do very much, basically. Um, so therefore, people like Hibu and Kixkol and anybody coming with them are going to undergo a big cultural transition, basically, even before you get to Freetown. The lower levels of the tower are not what you're used to. Um, and you're sort of administratively, there's a changeover administratively to people whose job is actually to interact with Freetown. And so that's where you're dealing with things right now. Whereas for uh, Carnivix and pretty much most of the people who, the wingless people especially, who live, flightless people, I should say, who live out and about in Freetown are unused to actual, arrivals and interaction with the people of the tower in any substantial way. Um, so them coming here is an event. Um, One of the things that we will deal with before the actual event of meeting occurs is that Hibu and Kixikol and you are accompanied by a staff, but nearly all of that staff gets traded out as you pass into the levels of the tower below the cloud cover. So, in other words, now you're kind of subject to or serviced by a different department, if you want to look at it that way. My take on Avix society is that it is not democratic or dynamic, that you have all these different everything is administered. Anything that gets done has a department and an administration of some kind. And however people take part in that, however people progress in that or become powerful in it, is very local. and is not overseen. Basically, however it's done for whatever function is however it's considered right to do it this way. We've always done it this way, even if it's really different than it just was. Everyone still thinks it's always being done the way it's always been done. So it's like this enormous uh, it's thought of as an enormous, wonderful, interconnected sets of gears that all support the processes. But in reality, it's kind of a big, you know, crazy muddle of things getting done to some extent and in some way by whatever means, from piece to piece to piece. Everywhere has a budget, everywhere's over budget. There's no ultimate consequence for being over budget. I mean, if you just cleared all the deficits tomorrow, nobody would notice. It wouldn't change anything in terms of function, right? So even though you have, hordes of people like carefully accounting for, every bit. But yeah, everybody sends reports everywhere. So in this case, what I'm envisioning is that the very technology changes, that from these wonderful platforms that are both outside and inside the tower that you can fly to, and then you all get together, and then there's like a little air car that takes you down, to another level, and it's almost like you've done this sort of irregular spiral all the way down, flying all together. So you had to stop for a while everybody grouped up and flew down together in a group, while there was a ritual or celebratory acknowledgement, like a newscast or something, of the event. And so there's all these it's been a trip. We've taken quite a trip down the length of this thing. Do you, Hibu, as played by Renee, do you wish to influence the activities of the, well, we wouldn't call it a conspiracy, we might call it an adjustment, or a steering, that's a good word for it, an effort to steer the policies of relevant departments, particularly in terms of maintaining the martial dignity and drive and striving for excellence that only real military people understand. Anyway, you're two of your offspring and a considerable number of like-minded individuals are willing to turn the functions of society in that direction. So what effort might you be making toward that end, or against it, if you've changed your mind, or whatever you want?
Yeah, I think with Hibu, who is very much about, rules and regulations, as is, been part of the culture here, but also realizing that probably in some subtext of somewhere, some affidavit, that there was something written about, the not exploiting one apex by another. Huh? And that it's very important to understand the cogs of the machine working, because everyone is important and making it move forward, and seeing that maybe it's going to skew. Mm-hmm. Maybe the good intentions have kind of gone sideways, and trying to, take this time to actually go down and see it and experience it, to see if that's actually what's happening. And obviously it is, because there's all this discord and rumblings, and that is not good. That is not good in the bigger scheme of us being the bright shining star for these other races, mm-hmm. As being leaders. So we need to clean our own house. So that's probably Hibu's concern, is that the house is a little dirty right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. we need to clear this up really fast, because it's not going to look good.
So you've probably
received, it up.
Yeah, You've probably received a report during the journey down that certain individuals are ready to be retired if you would give the word.
Mhm.
And so the question is whether you want to move that along. Go ahead and give the signal to go, and a number of individuals who clearly need to get with the new way of life will have the opportunity not to be in positions where they can block it anymore.
All right.
So, I'm going to actually play this. You're probably
Yeah.
just finished with that big press conference kind of situation, which was very three-dimensional, right? As all of you, hovered, you know, flew down dramatically together, and the one of the journalists comes up to you afterward and is kind of on your side and says, have word from Lexi. There's they want to they while you're gone, they can actually put some of this strategy into action, specifically to remove many individuals from their current administrative positions that they are not using to the utmost potential.
Yeah, I'd say Hebo, yeah, again, wants to actually go down, boots on the ground, and assess
Mm-hmm.
before making any kind of decision. Because right now, all she has to go on is that what she's been hearing, but not actually seeing. And there's a lot of different voices, uh, squawking and carrying on and being loud, and sometimes not being loud, which is even more dangerous. That's the quiet voices you gotta watch out for. So I'm not sure if I want to how I feel about that, and maybe actually I'll uh, you know look at towards Helma's character, and maybe just be like, what do you think? I'm gonna give you what I've heard, uh, and see what your reaction is.
So you're going to actually let her know that there is going to be a number of summary retirements in the interest of the warrior spirit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it very well could be, and if there's anything he was learned, sometimes you just got to be above board, because truth's gonna come out, and it's better to.
That sounds like a trait. Keep that in mind to write that one down.
Above board.
Yeah. Or truth's going to come out, or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, you're giving up a lot of information to Kickskull here. So
yeah.
True.
Is that on your call things will change?
Things will change regardless of my call, but how do we want to influence that change? What hand? How do we want to control the hand? Who do we want to bring into this? I'd rather it be we all rise up together, as we've always proclaimed that we would, as a race. That we can't leave anyone below. And if people are feeling that they're being left out, if they're being taken advantage of, that is not good. And there will be dissent and blood and mess. So we need to act now and make decisions. I'd like to go speak to some of the ones that are probably the worst off right now, who have the loudest voices in this, and find out what it is that they need.
We should certainly try and gather information on all levels to assess the situation.
Yes.
I have found that even if it takes time to understand things that are foreign, you have to see them with your own eyes, and you have to hear them with their words. And as long as we have not done that, I cannot see how we would make the right decisions.
Very good. And I think what has happened is that those that have benefited, those that have been able to rise above and live a better life, quality of life. Yeah, they like to reap what they've never sowed. Some people are doing all the work, perhaps. We need to look at that.
So the question is, the journalist, therefore, when, now that the event is over and they're all leaving, the journalist, gives you the sign and says, "So I'll tell them you say it's okay to get started, right?"
So, what
He-
does
They
the
weren't.
journalist want to?
The journalist wants to tell your children and all of these like-minded people associated with them to
Yes.
remove from their current positions a number of people who aren't looking at things the right way. And remove from their positions is kind of it could be very literal, very nice. This person agrees that maybe they are ready to retire, or maybe they should consider a career change. Or other retirements from position might be a little more involuntary.